Apollo 11 is hailed as humanity's greatest achievement, with Neil Armstrong and Buzz Aldrin making history on the moon. But what about Michael Collins, the astronaut who stayed behind? Now he reveals chilling secrets from their journey to the far side of the moon that were never told before. What did they really encounter up there? Let's start. In the early 1960s, President John F. Kennedy publicly pledged to land a man on the moon. But private recordings revealed his main goal was beating the Soviets, not a genuine interest in space. In a 1962 meeting, he admitted, "I'm not that interested in space." This attitude led to rushing the Apollo program, ignoring the psychological and physical risks to astronauts. The Soviet Union's success with Yuri Gagarin in 1961 pressured Kennedy to seek a political win through space, relying on Vice President Lyndon B. Johnson, who supported space exploration. Johnson advised that a manned moon mission would assert U.S. dominance, sparking the Apollo 11 mission. However, internal NASA debates warned that the technology was not ready, and safety was often sacrificed for speed. This political drive created risks only now fully recognized. The Apollo 11 astronauts, Neil Armstrong, Buzz Aldrin, and Michael Collins, were aware of the significant risks involved. 2 years earlier, the Apollo 1 crew died in a fire during a rehearsal. Internal NASA estimates gave them about a 50-50 chance of returning safely. Despite this, NASA did not insure astronauts during flight due to the risks and experimental nature of space travel. To support their families, the astronauts signed special insurance covers, autographed envelopes meant as farewell tokens. These covers, stamped and commemorating the mission, were to be postmarked on launch or moon landing day. If the astronauts did not return, their families could sell these collectibles for financial support. NASA allowed this, prepared for the possibility of losing the crew, and was aware of the story's public impact involving heroic sacrifice. Does learning about these insurance covers make the Apollo 11 mission feel more human and personal to you? Why? Comment and chat with me. But what happened next during their intense preparations would challenge everything they thought they knew about human limits. NASA prepared for the moon mission by simulating lunar conditions, particularly its 1/6 gravity. At Langley Research Center, participants were suspended sideways on slanted walls to study how reduced gravity affected movement like walking and jumping. Psychological tests revealed challenges. Many subjects experienced disorientation, panic, and intense unease, sometimes feeling like they were falling into an endless void even when safely harnessed. Isolation chambers used for sensory deprivation led to vivid experiences, but NASA kept these findings confidential and continued training. To prepare for landing, NASA and Bell Aerosystems developed the Lunar Landing Research Vehicle and the Lunar Landing Training Vehicle. The latter, used by Apollo 11 astronauts, simulated lunar gravity with a turbofan engine supporting over 80% of the craft's weight. These vehicles had risks. Neil Armstrong survived a serious crash, which affected him psychologically. Armstrong credited these simulations for the mission's success, but noted in a confidential debrief that the training altered his perception of reality. Additionally, NASA and the U.S. Geological Survey created artificial craters in Arizona to mimic the moon's surface. Training there led astronauts to feel strong isolation and apprehension, as if preparing for difficult challenges ahead. The Apollo 11 Command Module, called Columbia, was a cramped living space for the 3 astronauts during their 8-day mission. About the size of a large car, its tight quarters caused spatial claustrophobia, a discomfort from being confined inside while surrounded by vast space. Michael Collins described it as feeling like being buried alive in a coffin while falling through eternity. Launched on July 16, 1969, the Command Module was part of the Apollo spacecraft along with the Service Module and the Lunar Module, Eagle, which Armstrong and Aldrin used to land on the moon. The Command Module wasn't designed to handle all deep space psychological stresses. Its constant low-frequency hum reportedly led to a condition NASA referred to as space psychosis, involving paranoia and vivid perceptions. Collins reported hearing voices outside the spacecraft, which NASA attributed to stress-related experiences, though Collins felt they were real. After the mission, the Command Module toured the U.S. and was placed in the Smithsonian in 1971. Before display, NASA carefully cleaned and modified it, removing some equipment and parts to prepare it for exhibition. If you want to see if the Russians really found aliens in the world's deepest lake, I've also added a direct link to the video in the comments section pinned below this video. And don't forget to come back. The next discovery is the strange signal glitches on the surface of the moon. NASA debated including a TV camera on Apollo 11's lunar module due to weight concerns, but approved a black and white Westinghouse camera with a 16mm lens. This camera provided real-time video to the world during the mission. Internal documents show NASA carefully considered what might appear on camera to avoid public concern. Armstrong revealed the camera on the lander's lower stage, designed for lunar light and shadow. Signals were transmitted through a delicate gold-plated antenna spanning 38 miles, sending video over 250,000 miles to Earth. During the broadcast, some unusual signal interference appeared, but was handled by NASA's communication team. Aldrin activated the camera, sending grainy black and white images watched by 600 to 650 million viewers worldwide on July 20, 1969. Some original footage contained unexplained visual artifacts that were not included in later versions, with copies existing in private collections. During a 2-minute communication blackout, Armstrong and Aldrin reported observing unexpected surface features. When contact resumed, NASA noted signs of stress in their voices, which required monitoring by mission psychologists. Tap the like button to let us know this content is making a difference. And if you're watching on your phone, be sure to press the hype button right below. Every hype helps this video get published to more people, and it truly supports me in earning extra income. I promise to keep bringing you even more great content. But just moments after the historic landing, an intimate and mysterious ritual unfolded. What unseen emotions and experiences were the astronauts carrying as they stepped onto the moon? When Apollo 11's Eagle lunar module landed, Neil Armstrong and Buzz Aldrin waited before stepping onto the moon. During this pause, Aldrin performed a private Christian communion, bringing bread and wine with special permission, as an elder of Webster Presbyterian Church. During the ritual, Aldrin reported experiencing a powerful and unusual sensation. Armstrong observed quietly, and later described having vivid thoughts about future missions. NASA's audio recordings captured some unexplained background sounds during Aldrin's prayer. Aldrin later faced personal challenges, including depression, which he partly linked to the intense experience on the moon. Although Aldrin hoped to share the communion with the public, NASA did not broadcast it widely, partly due to concerns about religious content and the astronauts' emotional state. Not everyone supported the United States mission to land on the moon. Days before Apollo 11's launch, civil rights leader Ralph Abernathy led activists in a protest at Kennedy Space Center, using 2 mules and a wooden wagon to highlight poverty alongside the Saturn V rocket. At the protest, NASA Administrator Thomas Paine met with Abernathy, who requested that 10 families be allowed to watch the launch, urged NASA to help address national issues like poverty and hunger, and sought technical support for these challenges. Paine, under pressure, could not share all the intelligence he was aware of, including reports of unusual energy signals detected near the moon, which prompted high-level government discussions. Paine hoped Abernathy's cause could inspire progress alongside the space program. He arranged VIP viewing for the activists. Abernathy prayed for the astronauts' safety during the launch, and NASA officials later noted that such support was meaningful to the mission. The activists' presence provided a psychological boost for the astronauts. Knowing people on Earth were thinking of them helped with mental strength during difficult moments. Armstrong said that remembering Abernathy's prayer helped him maintain focus during the lunar mission. The Saturn V, the United States' largest rocket, generated 33 million newtons of thrust and carried 2.5 million kilograms of fuel and oxidizer. Its power posed serious risks. The 1968 Apollo 6 test nearly destroyed it, highlighting launch dangers. NASA also worried the rocket's energy might trigger unexpected environmental effects or attract unknown sources. In 1965, calculations showed a Saturn V explosion would release energy like a small atomic bomb, about half a kiloton, creating a fireball 1,000 feet wide at 2,500 feet, spreading debris 3 miles, and possibly disrupting global communications. To protect VIPs such as Vice President Spiro Agnew and former President Lyndon Johnson, NASA kept them 3.5 miles away and restricted access to monitoring gear, detecting unusual energy. Astronauts felt intense psychological pressure, aware they were atop a rocket described as ringing a dinner bell for things we don't understand, adding tension to the mission. Michael Collins, less famous than Armstrong and Aldrin, orbited the moon alone for nearly 28 hours while they landed. During this time, he heard unclear transmissions from the lunar surface in no known language. NASA never publicly addressed these odd sounds. Collins had to redock the lunar module and was given secret instructions about unexplained surface anomalies, though details remain vague. He felt like a base camp operator, but also sensed being observed, experiencing presence events where he felt not completely alone. Collins took a famous photo of Armstrong and Aldrin returning to orbit with Earth behind them. He claimed the original photo showed extra shapes removed before release, but this is unverified. These experiences affected him deeply, causing recurring dreams of silent beings aboard and a feeling of being marked by his lunar orbit time. When Armstrong and Aldrin undocked the Eagle from the command module, leftover pressure caused an unexpected boost during separation, slightly altering their course. About 9 minutes before landing, Armstrong realized they were off course by approximately 3 miles and needed to find a new landing site. The Eagle's computer triggered alarms during descent, which Mission Control attributed to technical issues. Approaching the surface, the Eagle used more fuel than planned, partly due to challenging lunar terrain affecting stability. With only about 30 seconds of fuel remaining, Armstrong guided the Eagle to an unplanned site, later named Tranquility Base. During the descent, the astronauts reported seeing some unusual surface features. However, details about these observations were limited. The landing was more challenging than publicly described, but ultimately successful. After landing, a hidden problem appeared. Ice formed in the landing engine's fuel line, causing a dangerous pressure buildup from trapped fuel vapor heated by the engine. NASA did not reveal that the ice crystals had unusual geometric patterns resembling artificial structures, prompting some engineers to suspect external causes. NASA and Grumman agreed that the pressure surge risked explosion if unchecked. Aerospace engineer Thomas J. Kelly warned that even the small fuel amount made the risk unpredictable and unacceptable. This blockage occurred just as Armstrong and Aldrin prepared for their historic moonwalk. An explosion would have been fatal and left Collins stranded in lunar orbit, raising intense psychological pressure on the crew. Before venting instructions arrived, the ice thawed naturally, releasing the trapped gas. The way it melted hinted at unknown external heat sources. Armstrong said this was one of the mission's most difficult psychological moments. He felt detached, as if watching himself from outside. Afterward, Armstrong and Aldrin found the equipment working flawlessly, navigation improved, and unexpected problems resolved. The Apollo 11 crew, Neil Armstrong, Buzz Aldrin and Michael Collins, relied on a crucial fourth member, the Apollo guidance computer. It was the most advanced computer then, compact and powerful, weighing about 70 pounds and using 70 watts at 28 volts DC. Its programs were built into hardware about the size of a large cell phone today. During the mission, it handled calculations and course corrections, sometimes acting on its own when signals were lost. The crew used a display and keyboard called DSK, issuing commands as verbs and nouns. Sometimes the computer gave unexpected directions, but Mission Control told the crew to trust it. Though it ran only about 40,000 instructions per second, it managed complex navigation and took preventive actions. Apollo 11 had 2 such computers, one in the command module and one in the lunar module, that coordinated throughout the mission. Astronauts often felt like passengers, with Armstrong describing it as flying with a ghost in the machine, showing their dependence on it during critical moments. What do you think was the most surprising secret about Apollo 11 revealed here? Share your theory below. Neil Armstrong's iconic moon footprint remains a powerful symbol, alongside the American flag left on the lunar surface. Among these marks is the Lunar Laser Retroreflector, a panel covered with 100 mirrors, placed by Armstrong and Aldrin on July 21, 1969, near the end of their moonwalk. Publicly, this device is known as a scientific tool for measuring the Earth-Moon distance. 5 such retroreflector arrays were sent to the moon in the late 1960s and early 1970s. These allow scientists to bounce laser pulses from Earth to the moon and back, helping to precisely track lunar orbit and study gravitational effects. While conducting these experiments, scientists observed complex patterns in the returned laser signals. These patterns have been used to deepen understanding of lunar and orbital mechanics. The retroreflector program contributed to the development of technologies such as GPS. Researchers continue to study data from the moon, improving knowledge of its physical characteristics. NASA's Apollo 11 team worried that the moon's surface was solid or soft. It proved solid, but lunar dust caused unexpected effects. After Armstrong and Aldrin re-entered the Eagle lander, dust on their suits emitted a unique smell, like burnt charcoal with damp ashes. Aldrin later revealed the dust triggered unusual psychological reactions. The dust seemed more than ordinary. Both astronauts experienced vivid visual patterns and altered consciousness. Armstrong saw floating geometric shapes. Aldrin had memory flashes of future events. Before the mission, some feared lunar dust might ignite near oxygen, but NASA only prepared for physical contamination, not psychological effects. The dust appeared almost responsive to their thoughts. Using a sample from Armstrong's suit, they tested it on the Eagle's ascent engine cover during repressurization. Instead of smoke, the dust moved on its own, forming shifting geometric shapes without combustion. They then proceeded with their departure. Scientists never fully studied the dust's smell or effects, since sealed moon soil lost its scent once on Earth, indicating the moon's environment influenced the dust's strange behavior. This spurred research into how lunar conditions might alter matter. Long after returning, both astronauts reported dreams of swirling dust clouds that seemed to carry mysterious messages about the moon's nature. During their 2.5-hour moonwalk, Neil Armstrong and Buzz Aldrin followed a planned mission to collect samples and survey the area. However, Armstrong briefly deviated, heading to Little West Crater. For about 3 minutes he went off the radar. Mission Control and Aldrin lost contact. Some reports suggest Armstrong temporarily turned off his radio due to what he observed there. At the crater, Armstrong took 9 photos. Analysis of these images showed unusual geometric shapes partially buried in the lunar soil, which some have speculated might look artificial, though no definitive explanation exists. There are unconfirmed stories and speculation that Armstrong encountered architectural remnants, suggesting the moon may have had ancient visitors or habitation. A popular tale involves Armstrong leaving a bracelet at the site, but this remains unproven. After the mission, Armstrong reportedly became more interested in ancient civilizations and made remarks hinting that humanity might not be alone, though details are scarce. Some theorists speculate that NASA classified information about Little West Crater and routed later missions to avoid it, citing geological instability officially. However, no confirmed evidence supports these claims, and the crater remains of scientific interest. Upon landing on the moon, Armstrong and Aldrin prepared for their moonwalk but accidentally damaged the tip of a vital circuit breaker, controlling power to the ascent engine, which engine needed to leave the lunar surface. This failure threatened their return. Some reports have suggested the damage may not have been entirely accidental, but this remains unconfirmed. The astronauts informed ground control but initially had no fix. During the moonwalk they felt a strong urge to return early, which some interpret as a psychological response to the situation. They cut their activities short and went back inside. Aldrin examined the breaker and realized that inserting a soft object might engage it. Using a marker pen, he pressed the button and restored power, allowing their safe return. Aldrin later described the repair as feeling instinctive. This near disaster deeply affected both men. They described feeling observed or tested, though details are limited and personal in nature. The pen that fixed the breaker became symbolic. Aldrin reportedly kept it for life and shared anecdotes of unusual experiences with it, though these remain personal claims. While President Kennedy inspired the goal of landing a man on the moon, he was assassinated before seeing it realized. President Richard Nixon, who took office in 1968, oversaw the Apollo missions. As Armstrong and Aldrin landed, Nixon's anxiety peaked. He faced political pressure if the mission failed, and was reportedly briefed on some potential risks to the astronauts and humanity. Nixon's team prepared several speeches for possible disaster scenarios. One version referenced quarantine procedures in case the astronauts returned altered in some way, suggesting concerns beyond physical injuries. However, these speeches remain part of classified or unconfirmed reports. During the live broadcast, Nixon's stress was reportedly high enough that medical staff monitored him. Fortunately, the astronauts returned safely after traveling over 200,000 miles. This led to 6 more successful Apollo missions, with 12 astronauts walking on the moon between 1969 and 1972. According to some sources, classified debriefings affected Nixon deeply, and he avoided discussing details even with close advisors. The existence of contingency plans implies that the government prepared for serious challenges, but no public evidence confirms these claims. After their historic mission, Armstrong, Aldrin, and Collins were placed in quarantine to protect against unknown lunar pathogens and monitor their mental health. Doctors noted behavioral changes during their return. When the Apollo 11 command module splashed down near Honolulu, Navy divers in biohazard suits disinfected the hatch and helped the astronauts put on biological isolation garments. The team carried sedatives and restraints in case of severe psychological distress. The crew and spacecraft were disinfected, then flown by helicopter to an aircraft carrier. They entered a mobile isolation unit, a secure transport with monitoring equipment, and were taken to NASA's Lunar Receiving Laboratory. They stayed nearly 3 weeks in quarantine, undergoing psychological evaluations and counseling to help process their experiences and decide what could be shared publicly. During this time, the astronauts struggled to distinguish some memories from reality. Shortly after quarantine, they took part in a ticker-tape parade in New York and attended many events. NASA closely monitored them to prevent sensitive information from leaking. Despite the celebrations, those close to them noticed lasting changes in their behavior and personality. Playtex, a French lingerie brand, unexpectedly helped design NASA's Apollo spacesuits. These suits protected astronauts from the moon's harsh environment and reportedly included extra features beyond standard protection. NASA required Playtex to work with aerospace company Hamilton Standard. Playtex's original design was set aside, and Hamilton's was rejected. Reports suggest the companies based their designs on different assessments of lunar risks, with Playtex addressing broader environmental hazards. NASA later invited other companies to submit designs. Some accounts say Playtex staff retrieved their original designs from Hamilton Standard and resubmitted them, influencing the final suits. Playtex's industrial division, ILC Dover in Delaware, became NASA's main spacesuit maker, partly due to incorporating specialized features needed for lunar missions. The final suits featured advanced sensors and communication systems operating on unique frequencies. They protected astronauts and gathered environmental data during missions. Astronauts said the suits felt like armor against unknown threats. Sensor feedback sometimes clashed with their own observations, adding a psychological challenge to their experience. After the Apollo 11 mission, the astronauts became American icons, but Katherine Johnson's vital role often went unrecognized. As one of NASA's human computers, she performed essential manual calculations, including synchronizing the lunar lander and command module for a safe return. Her work went beyond standard orbital mechanics, involving data on complex lunar conditions like gravitational anomalies and electromagnetic interference. Johnson also prepared contingency plans for emergencies. As a black woman in the 1950s and 60s, she overcame social and racial barriers in a male-dominated NASA. She and her team understood deeper mission aspects, carrying a heavy psychological burden while ensuring mission safety. Johnson received the Presidential Medal of Freedom in 2015, and NASA named a research facility after her in 2017. Her precise calculations laid the foundation for space navigation research. Her legacy goes beyond Apollo 11. Johnson remained professional under pressure and helped shape our understanding of space exploration through her math skills. We hope you enjoyed this video. The Apollo 11 mission was more complex and dangerous than most realize. The astronauts' experiences had strong psychological effects that lasted their entire lives. Their journey challenges what we think we know about the moon, and raises questions about what else might be out there in space. What do you think about these revelations? Have they changed your view of humanity's greatest achievement? Share your thoughts in the comments, and don't forget to subscribe for more hidden truths about space exploration. The universe is stranger and more dangerous than we've been told, with many secrets still waiting to be uncovered.